Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, here we are on Thursday, December 28th. We're going to take a look at SoFi today. So SoFi continuing to climb, though it's peeling back a little bit today, but I mean, it's very far off of this uptrend support that we put in the chart a few videos ago. But trying to sort of condense price action right now, right around this 1028 level that we had on the chart. Now, that was the highest up level that we had. So I came in and I added a couple of levels. 1068 looks good to me, and 1110 and 1170. So, in an effort to not clutter up the chart too much, I didn't put in every single little granular level. So there might, develop some levels in between those, but those to me look like the most prominent sort of markers, if you will, that are situated above the current price action. If it does, decide to come down a little bit, 1003. So sort of the question of will it hold that $10 level or not? That's like always been a tough one for it. And even if it sort of sidesteps or comes down, or even if it comes down hard, eventually looking for what the collision with this uptrend support looks like, that will be super interesting to me. Now, the other thing that, I would just mention, not in an effort to be bearish, of course, but this sort of pattern I call a sad face, which basically just means there's a big move up and then a full retracement relatively quickly, and just makes a frowny face pattern. And just, a reminder so folks don't get duped or get too far ahead of themselves or whatever. SoFi is riddled with these, right? And many of us have been caught up in these, hopeful attempts many times and got, maybe overly carried away, overly optimistic, just to lose all of the gains, right? So that's not to say that it happens this time. Obviously, my hope for the long run is that it eventually sort of finds its way forward with much higher share price and larger market cap. And, that's something that's in my hopes as well, but it is just a hope. So the market will do what the market will do. And I just wanted to remind folks that SoFi has a history of these sad face patterns. Okay, so quick recap here on the Webull, and then we'll flip over to the Think or Swim. 1028 is a level that we had on the chart already. It's wrestling with that at the moment. If it does decide to push, 1068, 1110, and 1170 look like the predominant resistance levels to me. If it decides to peel back a little bit, 1003, 948 are the nearest in, and then we have this uptrend support. So whether, like I say, that comes down, moves sideways, or goes up and to the right to eventually collide with it, I'm super interested to see what it does when it gets there. Now, on the Think or Swim side of things, we are well out of the channel now, and it hasn't spent this much time out the upper bound of the channel in a while. Back here, it put in several candles. What is this, about 12, 13-ish candles, something like that. So right now we're about 9 or so candles in. I don't know, I'm trying to count these quickly, but 9 or so candles in. So, not to say that the previous, 12 or 13 has any relevant factor at all, but just to mention that it can spend several candles up out of the upper bound of the channel. Eventually what we look for it to do is come back in and at least retest the channel. Now that can take several different shapes. If there seems to be more bullish momentum to exhaust and it pulls back, we will often see it find support on the upper bound of the channel, which is what we found in all these candles. Or if it does come in a little bit, support on the green wave cloud that's just inside the channel at the moment. And sort of additionally, this upper mid-range of the channel. If it comes back all the way and pushes off that, often then it can be sort of, okay, where's it going to go? Is it going to draw further into the channel? Is it going to come, what's it going to do when it hits the upper bound of the channel again, right? So that's a little less sort of conviction of bullish momentum that needs to be further exhausted, whereas the upper bound of the channel and the wave cloud are a little bit more conviction inducing, for me at least. Now, eventually what we look to happen is for it to come and engage with the mid-range of the channel. Now, this channel is dynamic. Every time a candle is put in, it shifts the channel. So as the price is rising, it's dragging the channel up with it. I mean, you can see that obviously here, right? And so even if the price keeps rising, we would eventually look for sort of the channel to catch up with it, and then on sort of maybe even a slight pullback, it would enter the channel or interact with it. So those are sort of the things I'm looking for. When it starts to engage with the channel, what does it do? Potential additional bullish strength of it, support if it gets support off here. Same thing with this green wave cloud. A bit more of a question mark, I guess, if it sort of starts to pull back to either of these levels. And that's not even saying what it does at those levels, just the matter of fact that it comes down to those levels is sort of like, okay, maybe there's sort of a moment to see what is it going to do here, because it doesn't seem that the bulls have as strong of a grip on it to keep carrying it forward and keep the price action up much higher or even further out of the channel. Histogram still sort of gearing up, kind of a couple hiccup candles in there. So, those hiccups just sort of are what punched it back to the upper bound of the channel, and then it found support there, like I said. No new trigger and fire happening at the moment. We had way back here when it was at the mid-range, which is the setup that I prefer. That's when it was triggering and firing, but this is just sort of still playing out that big run down all the way into the sixes, and now this jump up back into the double digits. So it's playing sort of the full gamut here on this fire, which is quite lengthy at this point. But yeah, histogram still sort of climbing, but kind of struggling to get any action above this range on the histogram, which is obviously quite high relative to where it's been recently. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week has been going well, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.